A look at how America celebrated its veterans today. Plus, a local man learns his dad was once a hero in the Pacific. Now he's sharing his father's story of courage and dedication with the world. And for some veterans, sharing their story is not easy. Joseph Tachovsky wants the world to know about his father's heroic legacy. Though when the Marine was still alive, it was too difficult for him to share those stories with his own son. Bryce Moore reports.
For many, Veterans Day is about remembering those who have served and honoring the sacrifices they've made for our country. But for the son of one World War II vet, it's about sharing the story of his father and his platoon in the Marines, all who he learned about through a hidden treasure trove of information stored in a garage. It all started at the funeral for Joseph Tachovsky's father, Frank. Frank was the lieutenant for a platoon of elite scout snipers. But Tachovsky never knew it.
No, he never spoke about the war at all. And if my mother ever brought up the topic, he would get very angry and just leave the room.
At the funeral, a eulogy prompted Tachovsky to look into his father's service. He knew about a box in the garage, but had never pulled it out.
After the eulogy, I've got to look in this thing. It was always the green box in the garage that hadn't been opened for decades.
Opening the box, Tachovsky found personal letters, photos, and his father's platoon roster. Discovering a link to Hawaii, Tachovsky learned how their squad leader persuaded 2 Army servicemen to join the Marines.
He had 2 buddies from high school who were in the Army and stationed at Schofield Barracks. And after a night of drinking, he convinced the 2 Army guys to go AWOL from the Army and join them for the invasion of Saipan.
After going through the box and tracking down surviving members from the platoon roster, Tachovsky compiled their stories into a book, 40 Thieves on Saipan.
All of these things and everything that was saved, it was just so apparent that it was a jigsaw puzzle that I had to put together. How to see that this mild-mannered little gentleman today was once a warrior in the Pacific. It was a very eye-opening thing.
Tachovsky visits the graves of all the platoon members who've passed, 6 of whom are in Punchbowl's cemetery, and donates half of the proceeds from his book to veteran organizations. His final message?
The biggest thing is seeing all of these little old guys, like I said, and with a cane or a walker or a wheelchair or what have you, and the stories they had to tell. This is their story, that's not my story. The little old people you see walking on the streets, you know, they have stories to tell.
40 Thieves on Saipan is available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and bookstores across the nation. To all the veterans of our armed forces, thank you. Your service will never be forgotten. Bryce Moore, KHON2 News, working for Hawaii.
So very typical of the greatest generation, many of them just very reluctant to share their own stories, even with family and friends. And you learn about them and their heroism and greatness after their death. And
pretty
too
cool
bad,
for Tachovsky's family to be able to see that,
Absolutely.
read about it, and learn about it.
Yeah, for sure.